Hello friends, you're at that 1870s homestead. It is March 27th and we're having our first garden chat of the year. I'm so excited, even though I'm not gardening this year. I'm not going to get into all that. I'll link a video explaining why we're not gardening this year in the description, so if you want to go watch that. But this year for me is all about giving my garden a rest, restoring the soil, and I thought before I get into that, and you know, I was ready to go gangbusters knowing what I'd want to do, I should test the pH of my soil and see if there's anything unique that I should be adding to any of the beds. And I've never pH tested my soil ever, so I thought, hey, let's use some wisdom here this year instead of just willy-nillying it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be grabbing some soil samples. It's so chilly and I just wore a little thin jacket, so I need to get this done and get back in the house with you guys. But I'll take you around, show you the beds. Some I'm not quite too proud of to show you, but might as well just show you the actual state of the garden here. So let's get into it and go start digging for the first time. My hands are going to dig in the soil this year. I'm excited. Okay, so you guys are going to have to deal with me sniffling because anytime it's cold and windy, my nose sniffles. And I have 4 in-ground beds around my garden. So you can kind of see, oh, you guys are getting really crooked, but they wrap around and they are basically a no-dig, deep mulch type system that I use. And then I have 6 raised beds. So I labeled my jars, like this one's labeled north. So the bordering beds will be north, south, east, and west. And then I labeled these beds 1 through 5. I only had 5 jars handy. I could have went to the basement and got more, but I figure I get a good judge on my raised beds by getting a sample of the 5. So this here is barn clean out from the goats last fall. And I'm not gonna take that directly. I'm gonna dig past that into the soil itself where I would plant, and that's what we're going to be grabbing. So I'm just gonna push this away, and this does have, oh, nice, the cardboard's already broken down. If you guys remember in that video, we laid cardboard down first and then did a deep layer. And it says to take basically a spade deep. So I'm gonna take, not all of it, I'm gonna probably half of a spade, but the full depth. So that's what I'll get. The next time I do it, I'll bring you guys down here closer and I'll show you how far down I'm digging. Find my shovel, you guys can see, I'm just gonna dig back this cardboard. Yep, it's pretty well broken down too. Okay. So, you guys see that? Let me bring you guys over. So we got our mulch pulled back, showing bare soil. Set it back down. And I'm digging just, you can watch my shovel go just about all the way its depth. I'm pulling it out. I'm gonna shake some of it off and just cut it in half so I don't take it all. So that is our jar of west soil. This is what I'm not super proud about. So this bed and the bed that is south facing didn't exactly get a good enough mulch covering. So there is plenty of natural mulch from just the compost on top of the soil, but not a deep layer. So this spring when I do the chicken coop clean out, all the chicken coop clean out will go on these 2 beds. I'm just cleaning off my shovel so I don't bring soil in from another bed into this sample. Alrighty, so what you're seeing here is just a ton of mulched leaves. I dig way down deep underneath that, and then underneath that was like a bunch of just the natural plant matter that came out of the garden, whether it was green bean vines, squash vines, things like that. So I'm gonna just dig in here, and again, just take about half of a sample size All right, cover that back up good. All right, we have them all. I think we got a couple of earthworms with us. And interesting enough, I can see a difference in some of them. So we're gonna see what that tells us once we get in the house. Okay, my goodness, I came in, my hands were frozen. So let's get our jars. And we are just going to be adding some distilled water to this till it's kind of like milkshake consistency. And I don't have, so I'm using a different method for testing my soil, which is less accurate than if you had an actual pH meter or you took it to like your local, what do they call it? Like your conservation district and ask them for a soil test. Or you can send out a sample. There's lots of offerings out there in the world to allow that. So one thing is in this one, there are, do you see the big pieces of wood chip material? I'm gonna take that out. It's actually leaves because I really just want to test the soil, not the mulch. A couple more with some chunky leaves in it. I'm gonna go through and just pick the leaf matter or any big chunks of mulch out. Okay. Ta-da. You guys see them all? Let me pull them back a little bit. I'll bring you guys down here. I'll just get started and show you like the consistency. Okay, well, I ended up adding more water than I intended. I don't really have any that are milkshake consistency. I didn't think I was adding too much. I did like 1-to-1 parts, but just be careful when you do it that you don't add too much. I don't think it'll affect the test. I hope not anyway. So it's a little liquidy, more liquidy than I would like. So the thing is I have to let this sit now for like an hour, just so that everything has a chance to balance out and any reactions to smooth all the pHs out from that soil. I don't really understand it myself, but we're going to come back in an hour and we're going to be using my pH test strips that I have for canning to test the acidity level of things. And it's not going to be like give me a digit scale reading, but I'll tell you about what kind of oh, this one's good. This one feels like a milkshake. What you're looking for good growing medium conditions generally when you talk about vegetable gardening. And we'll see if there's any actions I need to take or if everything's just kind of spot on where it should be and I should just be in maintenance mode. Okay guys, it's been well over an hour now. These are the test strips I'm using. Maximum Well-Being pH test strips. And it actually does look like it has a nice calculation even to the half decimal point. So they each come with a peach yellow coral tab-like color, and that's what you dunk in the water and then wait 1 to 3 seconds. I'll rinse it off, and I have a jar of distilled water here. I'll rinse it off, set it, and let it process. And we'll know where we're sitting with our pH. Todd was nice enough to do some research for me on why does pH of soil really matter. And it's all about the ability for a plant to uptake the proper nutrients. And so typical garden soil, you're looking at the range of like 6 to 7-ish, 6 to 7.5, something around that. Really, really low. So On the low end of the scale, I sure hope I'm saying this right, it's acidic. That's like what blueberries like. They like really acidic soil. And then decently acidic soil, not really. And then on the high end is alkaline. And plant matter handles that, and soil reacts to that, and just everything reacts to the balance of those two things. And there's certain nutrients in the soil like potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, like really critical nutrients in organic matter that a plant needs to grow well and healthy. And if soil is too acidic or too alkaline, it can impact that. I did learn something, that overly acidic soil actually composts organic matter much faster than alkaline soil, and so it can't hold on to the good nutrients as well. And then overly acidic alkaline soil, you're thinking about like clay, and you kind of deal with compaction and things like that a little bit more, I believe. So we are going to hope, cross our fingers, we're looking for in that range of 6 to 7.5. I have no idea, it's really nerve-wracking, but I'll bring you guys down here. I'm just giving each one of these one final stir, and then we'll do our dunk and rinse. Pretty big differences between the two, huh? So I'm just looking down. I'm going to let them process for a bit. Okay, it said after 15 seconds, the process is ready to test. Is this coming out? Yeah. So then you just walk the scale. I think it's this, 6.25. So we're gonna, let me get my marker, and we're gonna mark out what each one is. Let's just do it like this. So bed 5 is 6.25. All right. Bed number 4. Ooh. 5.5. I wouldn't think, yeah, that's tough to tell. Well, it is pretty close to that. Yeah, more close to that one, but definitely not as dark as that one. 5.75. And bed number 1. Bed number 1. 5.5. Okay, and now we're into our in-ground beds here down at the end. So this is the west-facing bed, which looks kind of in between a 6.25 and a 6.5. See, it's not as dark as the 6.25, but not quite as light as the 6.5. So we'll call it 6.35. All right, now we are on the south bed. South bed, 5.5. That's big difference between those two in-ground beds, huh? 5.5. Alrighty, last two. This is the east bed. Oh, golly, it's tricky. I'm gonna go with that one again. I don't think it's as dark as that, not quite there, so we'll go with 5.5 again. And the north bed. Yeah, 5.5. So almost all my in-ground beds were 5.5. One of them was 6.25, which is the bed that gets, if you guys are familiar with my garden, it's the back bed that gets drowned anytime we've had tons of rain. So right now, and I told Todd when I came in with that sample, while it doesn't look flooded, when I dug into that soil's super, super saturated right now. So I wondered if that maybe gave a little bit of a false reading, and they're almost all more like the 5.5 scale. And what's interesting is my beds, I got a little bit better results, 5.75 to 6.25. So two of them are 5.75, two of them 6.25, one is 5.5. So a little lower than what I should be aiming for just a general, your garden's ready to grow vegetables, your garden soil, because we're looking between a 6 and a 7. I don't know that I'm going to do necessarily anything totally different. I won't go to drastic extremes to say I'm going to lime my garden. So lime is something I could spread on my garden, or to quickly get the pH level up. I may go in a little bit more heavily. I've been very conservative on wood ash. So we have tons of wood ash right now. We just had a ton of fallen limbs and leaves and everything from the storms, not leaves, but limbs that we burned over the weekend. So I might go in with wood ash is another thing that can raise pH. So I might go in a little bit more heavily with some wood ash. I'm still going to do the chicken coop clean out, which would be more acidic than alkaline, just because of how intensely heavy it is in carbon. So I'm going to do this again probably in the fall and see where I am in the fall. But yeah, I thought it was just a fun experiment to see. And these pH test strips, I can't recommend them enough. I mean, it gives you, that was pretty easy to read. Some of them were like in between, which would have had me at a fraction decimal point. So pretty darn close. So tell me your thoughts. Like, this is pretty new to me, like getting this geeky with my garden soil. Like, I got the basics down. I know about aeration. I know about carbon to nitrogen ratios. I know adding compost and mulching my garden with natural materials, but tuning in and rock amendments. So if you're not doing rock amendments, I use azomite, but there's rock phosphate. There are lots of different rock amendments. So look into what's available in your area. Those carry lots of natural minerals. But this, I'm going to just do lots more research and see what levels of over the year of resting, of compost, grass clippings, more leaves in the fall. Do I want to change any of that balance to just slightly raise my pH levels? One good thing is I could not touch some of these beds because the pH where it's at, even on the lower scale, is perfect for things like sweet potatoes, peppers, potatoes, rhubarb, which my rhubarb's growing along the fence line. But if you do have like one or two beds that are lower in the pH scale, maybe just plan on using those beds for the crops that really like a more acidic soil. Or if you have something more alkaline on the higher end, you know, you're over that 7.0 mark. Maybe you're looking into what vegetables really like that environment and thrive better in that environment rather than adjusting. So that's kind of going to be some of the brainstorming that I have going on in my head. But yeah, share your thoughts. We'll all learn from each other, and happy to know where I stand going into this year of rest. And again, guys, I'm wishing you all so much luck in your gardening season. Grow big or go home, like Luke says at In My Gardener, and get your hands dirty for me. So I'll talk to you guys on the next video. Bye, guys. Oh, and if you stayed till the end, I'm not wasting any of this. I have tons of houseplants. This is just going to be a little tonic for them. So each houseplant, I'm going to just go pour this on.